Hello, welcome to episode 23 in the Datapack tutorial series. We're going to do some flickering lights. That's why the lights are off. Don't ask me why I put them so far away. So let's pretend we have one room here and one room there. We can do, ooh, look, flickering lights. Turn them off. And we can do, ooh, flickering lights. Or we can have them both on if you want. There we go. That's it. You've got a nice little buzzy sound as the light fails. Bzz, 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 bzz. We can add a nice bit of spooky atmosphere to our maps. Now, they're nice and easy to set up. All you have to do is pop down a block where you want the switch, a command block, and it will automatically set up the marker there. And then you pop a block down where you want the light power sources. And then you link them by giving them the same ID. Just scoreboard, set their ID score to say these ones are 0, 0, 0, 0. So when I press the 0 switch, zeros come on. And these ones are all 1, 1, 1. So when I press 1, 1s come on. There we go. So I could probably, let's just do a little bit of a scoreboard. Players, the nearest entity who is of type equals marker. We better tell it what we're doing as well. Set. And we're going to set your ID to 1. So that should have been him. So now if I press the 1 switch, he's included in this group now, and he's no longer included in this group. There we go. Okay, so that's what we're going to be doing. Waffle, waffle. Let's pop over to the Datapack and build it now. Okay, we might as well start in the Datapack. I'm going to start by setting up all the folders and files I'm going to need. So in function, I'm going to add a new folder, controllers. And in function, I'm going to add a new folder called setup. That seems good. I'm going to need a predicate folder. So in my namespace, I'm going to create a new folder called predicate. And I think that's all we need. Okay. Well, folder-wise. Let's go and make some files. So in controllers, new file. I want to be able to generate a random number, so I'll have generate random, MC function. I'm just going to copy dot function. And then I'll have another new file for when the player presses the switch. And another new file for processing the lights. And another new file for processing the switch press, and another new file for toggling the lights, and then we're going to need one to turn the lights on and one to turn the lights off. So let's say turn on and turn off. That's turn on again and turn off. There we go. So I think that'll do for my controllers. In setup, I'm going to make a new file. I'm going to give myself a marker, and this will mark where the light's power source is. And I'm going to give myself a marker to mark where the light switch is. And I'm going to set up the times for the lights. Okay. Right, and in the predicate, we're going to have a predicate file as well. I'm not going to write that yet, because if I do, it'll say, oh, there's nothing in it, and it'll throw errors everywhere, and it looks horrible. We'll do that later. Okay. I think the first thing to do would be start with setup. So let's pop in. Well, actually, let's start with load. Let's go into the load function. Okay, so at the moment it just says I have loaded. I want a couple of scoreboards. Now in this version I'm not going to do much commenting because it's just a load more extra typing, but in the downloadable version, linked in the description, it'll have the comments. First thing we're going to do is create a scoreboard to track whether the light is currently on or off. Scoreboard objectives, add, light state, dummy. Okay, and I'm just going to copy that. And I want another scoreboard. This will be for a timer. So I will give it the normal name I give it, timer. and I'm going to want another scoreboard, and this is going to be an ID, and I'm going to use the ID to link the switches to the lights. So if you press the switch that has ID 1, all the lights with ID 1 will turn on. That's what the ID is for. Okay, I think we're pretty much done there. Let's move on. Let's save that and close load. In fact, let's close all of these. We don't need them all open at the moment. I bet there's a close all that I don't know about. Okay, right. So let's give myself the markers. Oh no, let's set up the times. Times. So I'm going to use storage. Data, modify, storage. Let's give it infernal device, data, and I'll call it flicker times. And I want to set a value. I'm going to open and close curlies, and in there I'm going to have how long will it stay off for, and how long will it stay on for. Well, off will have, let's say, a minimum of 4 and a maximum of 10, and on can be a minimum of, well, let's say 4 as well, and a maximum of 30. Okay, that'll do. Let's get rid of that. Now let's do give marker. I will give the executing player a command block. I'll give it an item name. So it's apostrophe apostrophe, and inside there speech marks speech marks. I'm going to call it marker, and that will annoy me if I don't change it. Marker light switch. I need to give it some block entity data. That's going to equal blob blob. I'll need an ID. Minecraft command block. We will set auto to true, so as soon as I put it down it will run itself, and I'll give it a command as well. So as soon as I put it down it will run this command. It will summon a marker at its own coordinates. Well, that'll be in the middle of the block. I'm just going to move it down to the bottom of the block. Don't need to, but and that marker will have some tags, and it will have one tag which will be light switch. Okay, now it's not happy, and that's because I have got the command goes inside speech marks, and I've got speech marks inside my command. That's all right. We can escape these ones with a couple of backslashes. I'm unable to talk. Okay, so that should give me a marker for the light switch. Let's save that, and I'm going to copy all of that. Copy, close light switch, open up light, paste it in there, and we're just going to change. So that's for the light switch. This one would be for, I suppose, this would be for the power box that's powering the light. So we'll say light power, and I'll switch that to light power as well. I think that's all we need to change. Yeah, let's save that. Okay, we've done a bit of setup. Let's go over here. Up. And let's have a little test. So let's do a reload. And let's do function. Okay, we've got all those functions. Obviously there's nothing in them. Let's set up the times, and then we'll do a data get from storage flicker times off and on. Okay, that seems all right. Let's place down a light switch. My light switch is going to go on this wall here, and I'll have my light over there. Actually, yeah, no, that'll do. It's fine. Okay, let's run another function. And let's give ourselves the light switch marker. And let's give ourselves the light marker. Okay. Marker light switch. Bang, let's put that there. There is a marker there. Now the marker has got dust on it because I've got a command here which is just executing particles at all markers. And now we'll need a button. Let's pop a button on there. Okay, so we've got a marker marking that button. Cool. Right, next we will put down a marker for the light power. I'll just put that there. So, button, power. Okay. Right, let's go back. We've done everything we've already set up. I think next we're going to need a predicate to check if the IDs match. So I press the light switch and that marker has an ID of 1. I want to check for all other light power sources that have an ID of 1. So let's get a predicate to do that. Let's pop over to Misso's predicates and we're going to have a look here. Single entity properties, entity scores, that's what we want. Okay, score, I'm going to be checking the ID. Let's add that. And range seems okay. But we want a score and a score. And then we're going to change the context to fixed on both of them. Fixed. This will be the name of the player whose scores we're checking. Now I'm going to have a fake player. I'm going to call them ID holder. So we'll put that in there. The objective we're going to check is going to be the ID. And we'll be checking the ID in there. Okay, so let's have a little look at that. We are checking target ID holder, which is our fake player, and we're checking the ID. Okay, I think we are all right there. Let's copy that. Let's create our predicate file. New file. And we'll call it ID matches.json. See, it's not happy. Let's put the predicate in there. Okay. We'll come back and have a look at this shortly. Let's move on to when the user presses the switch. So when they press the switch, we're going to be running this function at the light switch. So we would have something like execute positioned, light switch coordinates at the nearest marker. And what we'll do then is we will get the light switch's marker ID, and we will copy it to ID holder, our fake player whose score we are checking. ID holder, ID equals at S, ID. Okay, we'll go over this again in a minute once we've got a bit set up. And now what we want to do is we want to process the lights for any linked entities. So the light power that has the same ID. So we'll execute as any entity whose type is a marker, whose tag equals light power, and whose predicate equals ID matches. And we will run it at them, and we will run a function, and the function we will run is process switch. Save. Okay, now let's go into the world and set up running this function. So we want to run this function here. So we'll have a command block, not one of these, because this will, if I put one of these down, it will create a marker. So let's just get a fresh empty. There we go. So we press this button, it will run this command block. Now I'm going to get the coordinates of this button. Fill, tab, tab, tab. Control copy. And we will execute positioned at those coordinates as any entity whose type equals marker, whose tag equals light switch. We can limit it to 1 as well. Limit equals 1. and distance equals within 0.1 blocks. We will run the function press switch. Done. So I press this switch, it runs this. This jumps to the coordinates where the switch is and runs the function as the marker that is there. So it runs it as that marker. Let's do a little sort of a test on that. So we're going to be going to press switch. So we'll come in here, we'll save the ID. We don't have an ID on that switch yet, so we better set some of those up, and then we'll go off to press switch. Well, we don't want to go off to press switch because that's going to call this same function. So after we've done that, we will process the switch. And in process switch, I'm just going to say hi. Okay, let's go over and do some tests. Let's do a reload. So we need to give this an ID, and we'll need to give this one an ID. Let's just do an ID for this one first. Scoreboard, players, set, any entity, type equals marker, limit equals 1, sort equals the nearest, set your ID to 0. Okay, so its ID is 0, but that one isn't. So I'm expecting nothing to happen because it's looking and it's not finding anyone with the same ID. So let's set your ID to 0 as well. And now we're getting a hi. So we're checking here. It's going, oh, it's got 0. Is anyone else got a 0? He says, I have, and it runs the function. Okay. Let's go into process switch. In fact, I think we finished with press switch now. So let's close that. And we finished with the predicate, so let's close that. Process switch, what do we want to do? Well, if the light is on, we want to turn it off. And if the light is off, we want to turn it on, I suppose. So let's do execute as, well, we're running as the power block, so we can do @s. And we'll say tag equals not. It doesn't have the tag light active. Then what we'll do is we'll run a set block at those coordinates, and we'll put a redstone block there so it becomes active. And then I'm going to copy that beginning bit. So if you did do that, then we will run tag @s add light active. Okay, so if it wasn't active, we will add active. Actually, now I'll keep going, but there'll be a little problem we'll have here. So now if the light is already active, we will set block at those coordinates white. Can you just bring up wool for me? No, white. Come on, give me wool. I have to type most of it anyway. We'll set it to white wool and we'll do tag @s remove light active. Now, the problem we've got here is if it hasn't got the tag, it's going to give it the tag and set the block. Then it's going to come down here and it's going to run these two. Well, we don't want these two running if these ones run. So here in this run, we'll do run, return, run. So now what it's going to do, it's going to say, right, it doesn't have tag like active. Let's set a redstone block. It still doesn't have light active. Let's give it the tag light active and let's exit this function. Cool. And if it is active, it'll just skip both of these and come down to these two, and it will set it to white wool and remove the light active. Okay, so that is the light processed. So we can turn it on and off now. I wonder if that works. Just as is, we won't do anything else. We'll just do a reload and we'll press the button. Okay, it must have been off. Didn't have the tag. Okay, there we go. Now we can turn it on and off. Okay, let's get ourselves a little redstone lamp. Now we've got a light. Okay, which we can turn on and we can turn off. Cool. Okay, now we want it to be flickering. So let's go to the tick function. Tick. And we will execute as any entity whose type equals marker, whose tag equals light active, and we will run function process the light. Done. That's the tick function done. Let's turn that off. Let's go to process light. So here it is active. I want to take one away from its timer. So I will do scoreboard, players, remove, at S, timer 1. Okay, so I've taken 1 off its timer. And now if its timer gets to 0, I want to either turn it on or turn it off, depending on which it is. So I'm going to do execute if score at S timer matches 0 or less, then we will run function toggle light. Save that. Okay, so that should be fine. So if the light is active, its timer is going to go down. If its timer reaches 0, we're going to toggle the light. Let's go off to toggle light. Okay, right. What do we want to do here? First, let's change its state. So we'll execute store success as a score on the light block, its light state, if score for the light block, its light state matches 0. Oh, 0. Okay, so it's going to come here. So if the light state equals 1, it's going to say, doesn't equal 1, that wasn't a success, I'll put a 0 in there. On the other hand, if it comes here and the light state is 0, it'll say, oh, it does match 0. That was a success. I'll put 1 in here. So we're toggling the light state. And then let's just put a little on. In fact, let's just put a little off as well. So if it needs to be turned on, or if it is now currently on, we will execute if score at S light state matches 0, so it's off at the moment, at S run, does that say fun? Run function turn on. Okay, and I'm just going to copy that. We'll make a couple of little changes. So if it gets here and it equals 1, then we'll turn it off. Okay. Let's go to turn on. Here. So here we want to, first of all, it's on. So let's do a set block at those coordinates, and we'll set a redstone block. And now we want to use our times we set up, because in our times we have a minimum and a maximum. So we want to use these. So we want to get a range between, so for on 4 and 30, for off between 4 and 10. So we want to use those. So we are going to use a macro. We're going to execute, store the result as a score onto S into its timer. We're going to run a function. The function is going to be generate random, and we're going to run it with our storage, ID data, and where did we put it? I think we called it flicker times dot on. So let's have a look. Times. So it will go into flicker times, and then it will go into on, and it's going to be past this data here. It's going to be past min and max. So now our generate random function has access to min and max. Okay. That should be all right for that one. I think we're done for that. Turn on. Should we do that? Let's do the turn off as well, because I think we could probably just copy this. Copy. Let's go to turn off. Let's paste it in there. Well, let's set white wool instead, because we want it to be off. White wool. And how long can it stay off for? Well, we're going to generate another random, but we're going to get it from the flicker times off this time. Okay, now let's go into generate random. And we are going to, so let's return, run. I am going to return the result from this next command. Random value, and it will require a minimum and a maximum. So I'm going to put 0, 1. Okay, so that's the normal command, and now we're going to change it into the macro. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to say this line is accessing the data I passed by putting a $sign in the front. Now it's not happy because it needs something referenced, and remember we're passing it the min and the max. So here we'll put $sign min, and here we'll put $sign max. So if we look at turn off is going to go, okay, store the result in my timer from generate random, which is being sent flicker times off. Generate random is being sent flicker times off. So it's being sent min 4, max 10. And then we go to generate random and it's going, okay, so it's effectively doing 4 and 10 in there. That is all looking good. Let's turn that off. Let's turn that off. Let's close that down. Let's pop back into the world and do a reload. Let's turn it on. And we've got a bit of a flicker. Okay, let's make it nighttime. Time set midnight. So there's our flickering light. So you can play around with the times, do anything you like with them. Right, do we want to add an extra light? Okay, let's say, oh, well, I wouldn't mind having 2 lights connected to this switch. That's no problem. Let's clear our inventory and let's do a function and let's get ourselves a marker for a light, and we'll just pop that down there and we'll pop one down there. Okay, they're not doing anything yet because we haven't linked them with an ID. So we've got 2. Do we still have that scoreboard command? Yep. So let's do scoreboard player set type marker limit 2 sort nearest ID 0. Okay, so why are you not happy? Because they're probably not active. But then I think that would be, let's have a look at the data of one of them. Data get entity at entity. Actually, can we just do at n type equals marker? Well, you've got light power. You haven't got light active though, and you don't have a score. So let's try. Well, you've got an ID score. Let's try tagging you. Tag any entity. Well, that shouldn't matter because here in our toggle, no. Where are we doing? Actually, tell you what. Well, I didn't try. I don't know why I went there. I'm just pressing random buttons. Let's turn you off. There we go. And turn you back on. We just needed to give it the light active. But now it seems that it's not being targeted. Let's have a look to see what the scoreboard timer is doing. So the timers for these 2 aren't going down. Ah, I reckon when this one's on, there we go. So what we have here is these 2 are at a different state to this one. So they're on now. So it's working. Tricky little problem. Could have caught me out for a while. So let's turn it off. Oh, I can't turn it off, can I? Let's set them all. Let's which is the best way to do this? Probably with a fresh command. Tag all entities, all the nearest entities whose type equals marker, add light active. Hey. There we go. Now they're all on. And now they're all off. So we just had to give it the light active tag. All on. All off. Okay, let's make a little extra improvement. Let's go to the turn off controller, because when it turns off, let's say there's a problem with the electricity. So let's get a sort of a bzz, bzz sound. Let's play sound. Maybe a B. Entity dot B. Be hurt. Be death. Be hurt. Let's try that. See if that uses. We'll play it on the block channel because the lights are sort of blocked, so that makes a bit of sense, sort of. We'll do it for all players at those coordinates. Volume 1 will ramp up the pitch. Okay, I don't think this is the right sound to use. Let's go and have a look. Let's do a reload. This can't be. No. That just sounds silly. I know what we can use. Item dot spyglass dot use. That's a cranky, isn't it? You know what I mean. Let's go back and try that sound. Don't forget to reload. Oh yeah, that's pretty cool. Yep. Yeah, there we go. So what we want to set up, let's do a clear. Let's do a function. Let's give ourselves the marker for the switch. Let's give ourselves a marker for the light. Let's put a switch down here. Let's put a light down here and here. Oh, actually, I want that block. We'll keep that one. Don't want that one. There we go. And let's get a couple of lamps. Good shot. Okay, we've got some lamps. We need a switch to go on there. Let's get that switch. Put it on there. Let's copy this command block with its command. Put it in there. Let's get the position of this switch. Fill, tab, tab, tab. Too many tabs. Let's change the coordinates. So we're looking at this marker. Done. Okay, now we just need to give them some IDs. So if I stand here and do scoreboard, players, set, any entity, type equals marker, limit equals 3, sort equals nearest. That should target the 3 I'm nearest. And we'll set your ID to 1. Okay, so we've got that switched now because you've got 1, 1, and 1, and we've got 0, 0, 0, 0. So we can turn these ones off independently, and we can turn these ones off independently. Cool. Okay, I would say job done. Something I think would be a nice addition. Have a play around yourself if you want. I'm thinking I might do it anyway. Is if we had different states for the power. So if power is 0, then when we press the button, nothing happens because there's no power. If power is 1, then we'll say, well, that's intermittent. And when we press the button, we get this flickering. Or we could have, if power is 2, then the power's fine and there's no problem at all. And the lights just go on and off as normal. Because I think that would be nice for a room. Maybe you go in and everything's normal. So you press the light switch, the lights come on, and you press the light switch and they go off. But later on, maybe something happens to the power, or the game atmosphere turns scary and you want to start flickering the lights, and then you switch it to power mode 1. I think that'd be a cool addition. We might do that at some point. Well, if you're interested in that, just give me a comment. Anyway, there's some flickering lights that we can set up for different rooms using an ID system, and you've also got a predicate there showing you how to link things using an ID. Just useful for a few things. Anyway, we've been a while, haven't we? Time to get something to eat. Enjoy the rest of your day. I'll see you soon. Take care. Bye-bye.